Today's episode is made possible through the support of Jessica and dozens of other people just like you on Patreon. This is my full-time job, guys, so I do appreciate the support. Check out the links below in the description to see how you can help me make more and better robot videos. Thank you.
Hi there, guys. Welcome back to The Bench. Today we're doing Project Archi episode 18, where we're going to extend the motor wires a bit. So if you're reading the manual, it's really easy to get confused because it jumps back and forth from encoder to motor to encoder to motor. So just to be clear, today we're dealing with the J2 motor extension leads. And really, it's not that complicated. We got this. We're going to be working right here with this conglomeration of wires. We're going to take the encoder plug right out because I don't want to confuse anybody today. We're going to work only with these wires here, the actual motor leads. And it's really not that big a deal. We're gonna cut, strip, splice, and then heat shrink these wires coming out of here. And there's 4 because it's a stepper motor. Your wire color should be black, red, green, and blue. So you're going to get into your wire stockpile, and this will be the stuff. If you ordered the stuff on the Amazon list from Annan Robotics, like it's in the manual, if you ordered the stuff off there, you're going to end up with this wire, which is APO Sound W18 by 100, and you're going to need your black, red, green, and blue wires. This is 18 gauge. It's not fancy silicone. It's just wires. So we're going to cut off 4 pieces of this at 22 inches long. So 22 inches, 1 piece of each. I'm just going to do it right here on the bench. Now the book says 22, so I'm going to cut it at 22 and a half because we can always trim it down in the future. So this is 18 gauge wire, cutting it at, by the book, 22 inches long. But I figure I got 100 foot of it on there, and maybe 22 and a half, maybe 23, whatever you like. Because we know that we're going to terminate the other end of this eventually, probably in the big control box at the back of the robot. So we know we're going to trim it all off anyway to whatever the proper length is. And I haven't done enough work with Mr. Annan to know how conservative he is with his wire routings. So I'm just going to err on the side of we need a little bit more than that. Because it's okay to trim an inch off, but man, it really sucks to be like, fuck, I need like half an inch. That sucks. Been there once or twice. Okay, so we got our 4 wires cut down. Now let's strip them. Now I'm going to strip these at just about a ½ inch. So a centimeter for those of you in the rest of the world. But about a ½ inch-ish. Now the book says we're supposed to solder these together. I'm not. I'm going to do my fancy ferrule crimps because I think I've got a clever way to do that, and then we'll heat shrink it from there because my soldering sucks. If you're good at soldering, if you've really got that skill set, by all means use it. That's totally kosher. I'm not that good at soldering, so I'm gonna use the skills I have to do the best job I can on this. Also, while I'm thinking about it, you want to trim off your motor leads here at 8 inches. So we're going to pull those out to 8 inches, mark it, then cut it. Okay. And then I'm going to strip the motor leads too. Also at a little more than a 1/2 inch, because I can trim them down later. And these are pretty fine wires, so I'm going to twist them down right away because I don't want flyers coming off. Okay. And we got that done. All right, so put my tape measure away. We're done there. So you should have at this point 4 cut stripped motor leads. You'll notice we took the encoder wire out. We're dealing with the motor wire, not the encoder wire. If you have 5 wires, you're on the wrong one. That's how I figured it out. It may seem kind of pedantic that I'm stressing that point, but it's really easy to gloss over in the manual. Watch the after the credits of the last video. Watch 17 all the way to the end, and you'll get an idea of just how I feel about that. Also, before 20 people complain and say like, why did you put all that on the internet? Nobody had to know that. You could have because like, yes, I do this live here in the studio. You could be, if you go to the links below and get in the Discord, you could actually be hanging out here live with me and a handful of other weirdos. Say hi, weirdos. But this also, weirdos? Hi. There you go. It's like, I was like, where my boys at? I
had to unmute my mic.
Oh, see, I appreciate that you mute that so I don't get all the noise in there. But while I do this live, the videos are production videos. Everything's edited. And I could have totally edited out all the screw up yesterday. I shot 1 hour and 15 minutes yesterday for what ended up being like a 10-minute video. I could have just thrown all of that away and nobody would have ever known. But it's important to me to show when I really do screw up, so that other people out there realize, hey, he screws up too. I'm not special. All of us are going to make mistakes in the shop. And it's important to realize that and say, hey, normal people screw this up. And it isn't important to be perfect and never make a mistake. What defines us is how we handle the situation when we do make a mistake. That's what really matters. And that's the stuff that I want to include and try and teach you guys. So, yeah. That being said, now let's go completely off the fucking book and do this in a totally different way than is specified in the manual. Because he says solder them and heat shrink them. Okay, cool. If that's what you want to do, solder them and heat shrink them. But I told you to get these snazzy ferrule ring. I don't know what the name is for these, but they crimp little ferrules. So I'm going to call them ferrule crimpers. Okay, ring crimpers, something. But I told you get a pair of these. Get a pair of these because that's what I'm going to use today. And I'm going to use the yellow, I think. Yellow makes me feel good. I think I can do it with the yellow. I'm going to try it. Okay, so let's pull up a chair and get into wire splicing mode. All right, so I'm going to use my little ring ferrules like this. And we're gonna actually cut the plastic part right off. Now the problem is that crimps the end shut. So you grab bare needle nose and lovingly, gently, just squeeze that back open. It doesn't need to be perfect because it isn't really going to matter, but you got to have it round-ish, okay? And then we'll start with black. Now I think it's going to be the yellow side. If yellow is too small, we'll step up to black, but I think yellow will work. So I'm going to slip this right over here. And now I'm going to slip my crimpers. I'm going to put the whole thing right through my crimpers. Like that. Because it's easier than having to fight the crimpers all the way down the thing. And then we'll grab our black wire right on the thing, and that's already twisted down tight. And we'll slide this in here as well. And if we can fit them both, then we're totally set. If we can't, then we got to go up a size. Yeah, we're going to have to go up a size. Let's try a black one. I'm going to keep that there just in case. So we're going to go up a size here with a black crimp connector. Cut that right off. And then open this up like so. See? The different colors are different diameters. So as an example, there's a yellow and a black. You can see the black one is a larger diameter. Not by a hell of a lot, but it's enough that you can fit that right in there. So now I'm going to put the crimpy end on here because I only got to fit one wire through that. So you do the not as good end there, and then we'll bring our black wire around. Fix our flyer, because you want all the wires in the tube. And then just wiggle that around, and move it in a circular motion as you put it in, and then you'll be able to get it all in there. Now, utilizing an Elite 3, 4, 8 finger hold. Hold that all together while you slide this up the wire and keep the whole thing in frame so that the internet can see your Elite skills, and then crimp the shit out of it. I'm gonna crimp that twice just to be sure. Okay, and then we'll slide our wire all the way through. Get a look at it here. Now we're gonna give it the tug test. Put about, I don't know, 3 to 5 pounds of pull on that and make sure everything stays together. We're good. That's a beautiful connection. That is exactly what you're going for. You don't have a huge amount of wire hanging out. You don't have the insulation into it, maybe a little on top, but that's okay. If the insulation goes in like an 1/8 inch on this, doesn't hurt it at all. As long as it crimps down all the way in the middle, that's totally cool with this type of connector. So now that we've got that sorted, we're going to grab our heat shrink, which has to be black and the right diameter. That's a little big. That seems a little small. That's close. That might work. Let me slip that on there and see what we get. Oh, it's tight. But if it'll slide, it's loose enough. And we run this all the way down. And as long as it'll go over the crimp, and it will, we're good. So put that halfway down there. That's perfect. That is exactly what you want. Like, that's not just good. That's damn perfect. So we're going to fire up our little heat gun here. And we're going to heat shrink this. And you're probably not going to see it shrink all that much. But you know you're there when you can see the features of the crimp connection really come out on display. Oh, that's great. That is so good. I'm proud of that. And you should be too. Make your joints look that good. That's perfect. It's electrically well bonded. Like, we've got a 1/2 inch of engagement there and 1,000,000 crimps in that type of connector. It's mechanically well bonded, so we've got strain relief, because it's a concern where the floppy wire goes into the rather rigid connector. If this moves around a lot, and it's a robot, it's going to move, that could break off. But having this on there really reinforces that, so that's going to help it a lot. And it's thinner, or at least just as thin. It's thinner than it would have been if I soldered it. You could probably solder it thinner than that, but that's because you're awesome and you've got mad skills. I don't. All right, let's do red next. Now, we're going to grab another one of the black connectors here. So now we know exactly what we're doing. We know how to do it. We know what we want. The first one always takes a lot of time, but the second one gets a lot easier. Now, we can slip this right on here. Watch this. We can slip this over that, right down to there, and we can see there's just a little, now you can see it, there's just a little wispy sticking out the end, and we don't really care about that. So we know our wire's at a good length. And we twist that down nice and tight and try and get rid of any flyers. Flyers are like where you have like a little wispy coming off to the side. And we twist this one down nice and tight. Now, I'm going to, on this one, preemptively, and this is the thing to do whenever you get the opportunity. If I can pull it out of the box, okay. I'm going to put my heat shrink on here from right here, so I don't have to fight sliding it all the way down. Okay, so there's my heat shrink because I know that size heat shrink fits for this. And then I'm going to slide my crimpers on here. And then I'm going to put my wire connector on here. And we're going to put the squared off crimpety end up the big wire. Because when we have to fight the second wire in there, we want to have it as simple as possible. So we make sure we have the second wire is a red one. We just work that in gently and all the way down. Okay. And then we run that down through the crimper. Get it all lined up. And then give it a good squeeze. Check the other side is good, that side's good, okay. Run everything out of the crimpers. Tug test, and we're awesome. So now I'm going to slide this on down. All the way down, and you want to have that pretty much right in the middle. Okay, so just divide that into about thirds for this size heat shrink. If you're working with way longer heat shrink, just cut it to lengths, but you want your heat shrink to be about 3 times the length of the splice. And we just see those nubs come right out. Oh yeah, that's what you want. All right, you've seen me do it twice. Now you do it. I'm just going to get these other two made up, and I'll be back in a second. Alright, so we've got them all sorted out, so the next step is to label them. Now if you follow the book, you can just put a piece of tape to bind them together, and you can just put 2 dots, like 2 rings on the ends of the wires, and you can do that, and that's cool. I happen to be lucky enough to have a fancy Brady labeler, so I'm just going to label them all together with a wire label. But man, look at that. Isn't that great? I love how that came out. I'm so proud of that. It's clean and efficient and good, and it just makes me happy. So I'm going to stretch all these together like that, and then put my label out here on the end. J2 motor. There. That's all cool and good and organized. And that bit of very simple, very sexy splicing is everything involved for this episode. We're going to do almost the exact same thing again in the next episode for the encoder wires. But this is where we are for today. That's episode 18. I want to thank you guys for hanging out and being a part of this. And if you're interested in this kind of thing, if you're interested in making robots and playing with robots and making weird projects from like Tesla coils and electronics and computer stuff and quadcopters and audio gear and just all kinds of happy horse shit. Just soup to nuts. Anything in the nerd world, man, I'm probably doing it. Check out the links below in the description. You can get in my Discord, and there's a bunch of other people like these guys. Say hey. There's a bunch of people just hanging out, making cool shit, putting it on the internet. We got guys from all over the world in here, and you're invited. You can check out the Discord. The links are below in the description. It's absolutely free. There is no membership or anything like that. You just get in there, sign up, check it out, and see what you think. So that's what we got. You guys have fun. I'm Chris Boden, and you're not. And as always, I'll see you next time. Project Archi, episode 18, Sync.